Labrador Bruno. Why?
Well, when he snuffs it, you give me a ring, I can immortalise him for you.
Daphne, how's Angela these days?
Oh, as well as can be expected, under the circumstances. She sends lots of love, often speaks fondly of you.
Oh, there's really no need to bother. We've got a little lady who comes in and does.
No bother, Penelope. I must say, that was as scrumptious a nosh as I've ever had.
Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. It makes all one's little effort seem so worthwhile.
Yeah, still, Nigel's done very well for himself, hasn't he?
Oh, yes, we're reasonably comfortable. Thank you.
Tell me, was he self-made geezer or born with a silver spoon in his mouth?
Oh, good heavens, no. Poor Nigel had an absolutely poverty-stricken childhood. Didn't inherit a penny till he was 21.
Well, that's what I call hardship.
Yes. Oh, are you trying to be satirical?
No, absolutely not. I just thought, well, fancy waiting until you're 21 before you can spend a penny.
When you buy this property company, presumably you'll need lots of little men to help you renovate those old houses.
Yeah.
I hate to admit it, but Mr. Tyler does have an aptitude for decorating.
So?
I'd like you to offer him a job.
A job?
Preferably a dangerous one. I'm living a nightmare in that basement, Nigel. But if I knew that little man was going to be out all day risking his life, it would give me some sort of strength to carry on. Please say you'll consider it.
Well, forgive me, Daphne. We have this little motto in the city.
Motto?
Yes. It goes something like this. What's in it for me? Let's examine the facts, shall we? Here we have a chap who's basically nothing but a cocky little troublemaker.
Yes.
Well, as his potential employer, I can't help wondering if I really need a man like that.
I see.
However...
Yes?
I could always put your proposition to my partner.
Your partner?
Mind you, I don't know who it is yet.
I'm sorry, I'm not with you.
I'm not going into this business alone, Daphne. I'm seeking a co-investor.
Ah!
Obviously, there's going to be quite a queue forming because the return on capital will be astronomical.
Remember that I told you I was selling my house in Cheltenham?
I vaguely recall you mentioning it. Why?
Well, that's that then.
Really wasn't necessary.
Well, what are mates for? Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm dying for a Jimmy Riddle.
I'm sorry?
Well, if you could just point me in the direction of the nearest piece of porcelain.
I'm terribly sorry, but I haven't a clue what you're talking about.
The bog, love. Where's the bog?
Where's Nigel got to?
Oh, he's making a vital call to his lawyer.
But at this time of night?
Nigel and I are about to launch into partnership.
Oh, what fun.
Pots of it. The bonus is there'll be pots more when the sale of our house comes through. Of course she doesn't know about the fraud squad on our tail. Anyway, the completion of our house will just pip them to the post. Even if it doesn't, I've managed to squeeze a nice fat check out of her as a gesture of her goodwill. I'll get back to you. What the hell do you mean by lurking outside my study uninvited?
Who's been a naughty little Nigel, then?
I repeat. How much do you want?
I had you sussed as a bit of a greaseball. But pulling a stroke like this, your missus' best friend over dinner, I mean, that's stretching it even by Epping standards.
Look, she hates your guts, so what's the problem?
Well, I must say I don't usually disapprove of people pulling strokes on Daphne, but I've got this fatal flaw in my character. I've got this funny feeling I might just chuck up all over your nice carpet.
Now, look.
She thinks very highly of you, you know that.
I'm sure we can come to some perfectly equitable arrangement.
I don't need your money. There's no telling where it's been.
What?
There's 3 things can buy my silence. For starters, you go in there and tell Daphne the deal's off. Second, you tell her... I'm perfectly serious. She'll believe it coming from you.
You mentioned 3 things.
Yeah, well, the third one comes first. I want you to admit you are a slimy, devious little toe rag.
Never.
Right.
All right, all right.
I'm listening.
I'm slimy, devious little toe-rag.
Come on, didn't hear that.
I am a slimy, devious little toe-rag.
Yes! That's more like it. At least we're agreed on one thing.
Coffee?
How kind.
Well?
No go, I'm afraid. I've just been advised that the bottom's fallen out of the property market. Your cheque.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, tragic.
Still, frightfully clever of Nigel to have found out just in the nick of time.
This is very sudden.
I can assure you I'm as disappointed about it as you are.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's have a brandy. Cheer us up.
Yes, of course.
2 down, 1 to go.
A toast, Daphne. To you and Mr. Tyler.
I beg your pardon.
You don't fool me. I know your relationship on the surface might appear to be one of mere barbed repartee. Indeed, to a casual observer, one might even come to the conclusion you don't even like each other very much. But I know playful banter when I hear it. Oh, in fact, the moment I first saw you two together, I thought to myself, here are two people who are made for each other.
You're a scream, Nigel. Did you scream?
Yeah, we'll try harder. Only tea left in that pot, Daphne. My throat feels like a gorilla's armpit.
I've no sympathy for you whatsoever. All my sympathies are with Nigel and Penelope. Having you in their house must have seemed like a vision of hell. And when I think of all that vintage brandy disappearing down your gullet, it would be no exaggeration to call it money down the drain.
Oh, I don't know. I think Nigel got it right. You know, about you and me.
I fear the poor man was having some sort of brainstorm. But then your behaviour's bound to unbalance people who meet you for the first time.
I think of the things I've done for you.
What have you ever done to me?
Well,
Except cause me severe stress.
You're better off out of Nigel's property company.
Oh, that amused you, didn't it?
Well,
Oh, it didn't escape my notice that when Nigel returned my cheque, there was a look of smug triumph all over your face. So what happened later gave me enormous satisfaction.
and what did happen later?
Well, for one thing, you relapsed into an alcoholic stupor after your 5th brandy. And when you did, Nigel suggested that I might like to invest in a pottery he's about to launch in the Third World.
Pottery?
So I returned my cheque to him with many thanks.
A pottery?
Nigel assures me that the Third World has enormous investment potential because there's lots of cheap labour, mercifully unfettered by the millstone of union membership.
A pottery?
I know pottery's a long word, Mr. Tyler, so I'll fill you in. A pottery is where they make things like plates and bowls.
I know what they make, Daphne. Right, I'm off to Epping.
Why?
Because I've got a very funny feeling that pottery specialises in mugs.